In 2007, Saville was the subject of a Surrey police investigation. This followed a complaint from a woman who said she'd been sexually assaulted by him in the 1970s while a pupil at Duncroft. The woman has not taken part in this programme. The Surrey Force spokesman told us,
"The allegation was investigated and an individual was interviewed under caution. There was insufficient evidence to take any further action."
But at the end of my investigation, just how strong is the evidence I've gathered against Saville? I want to get the opinion of one of Britain's leading lawyers. Ian Glenn QC works both as a prosecutor and a defence barrister. He has both prosecuted and defended cases of historic child sex abuse. I have shown him the full transcripts of all the people who have been interviewed as part of this programme. Ian, what are your thoughts on the evidence that we've presented to you?
It has to be emphasised, obviously, that Jimmy Saville's side of this has not been heard and can never be heard. And so one can only look at the material from the complainants, which I've done. If there was a single incident which was 30 or 40 years old, it would be unfair, in my opinion, to put him on trial for it, because he wouldn't be able to remember what had happened on a single occasion. But the evidence amounts to much more than that. It's a pattern of offending that these complainants are speaking about. There's independence between 2 or 3 groups of complainants, and they are backed up to some extent by independent witnesses who observed relevant occasions of misconduct.
Do you think we've gathered enough evidence for Jimmy Saville to be arrested were he still alive?
To be arrested, there'd have to be reasonable grounds for suspicion, and the witness statements that I read would amount to reasonable grounds for his arrest.
But as the anniversary of Saville's death approaches, what about those women I have spoken to? I have one last person to visit. Esther Ransom launched the child protection charity Childline 26 years ago. And for many years she, like Saville, was one of the BBC's biggest stars. She was one of the first to be asked to comment about him following his death.
He was exactly off-screen as he appeared on-screen. Eccentric, idiosyncratic, he was a one-off, he was his own invention, with the cigar, with shiny shell suits.
Esther has agreed to watch some of the interviews gathered as part of my investigation.
As I opened the door, he turned his head, and it was just his tongue that was just sort of coming out of the mouth. I felt this hand sort of go up my jumper and sort of on my breast like this. He hadn't restrained himself just to my breast. He'd also had a good fumble around in my knickers.
So Esther, you've just seen some very powerful interviews.
Absolutely.
Tell me what your feelings are.
Very painful. Very distressing. Because in a funny way, we all colluded with this, didn't we? We made him into the Jimmy Saville, who was untouchable, who was nobody could criticise. Jim will fix it. For children, he was a sort of godlike figure. Everybody knew of the good that Jimmy did and what he did for children. And these children were powerless.
Esther, you've got a lot of experience of hearing children who give accounts. Do you doubt their accounts?
No. Before I watched these, I had absolutely decided that I would not make up my mind, because he's not here to defend himself. It seems utterly unfair. But I must say that what these women say is so matter of fact. They corroborate each other. The style of the abuse and the attack on them was absolutely consistent one with each other. And I'm afraid the jury isn't out anymore. We all blocked our ears to the gossip. There was gossip, there were rumours. And I think the important message, I think, in your programme is that the children they just mustn't blame themselves. We say over and over again on the phone at Childline, it's always the adult to blame. It's never the child. This is not the child's fault. But what I know about child abuse is it comes off on the child. And the child takes the guilt, the child takes the responsibility. And I say to these women, don't be angry with yourselves. It's the adult to blame. And it's the adult world that created this mythical figure who was above criticism, who was above blame. And of course he wasn't. And I feel that we, in television, in his world, in some way colluded with him as a child abuser, because I now believe that's what he was.
We put the allegations made regarding Saville's behaviour at the BBC to the corporation. 2 weeks ago, the BBC told us that after extensive searches of its files, no record of allegations or misconduct could be found, and so it was not possible for the corporation to take any further action. Yesterday, they issued a new statement.
We are horrified by allegations that anything of this sort could have happened at the BBC or have been carried out by anyone working for the BBC. They are allegations of a serious criminal nature, which the police have the power to investigate. We have asked the BBC Investigations Unit to make direct contact with all the police forces in receipt of allegations and offer to help them investigate these matters and provide full support to any lines of inquiry they wish to pursue.
Mind, who as the National Association for Mental Health were involved in the management of Duncroft at the time, told us they were shocked and saddened by the allegations of abuse there and are investigating them. Last week, the Jimmy Savile Charitable Trust told us it is saddened by the broadcast of such serious allegations, which by their very nature will be one-sided and may impact on the charitable trust and its endeavours. Today the trust said, at no time did the trustees see Jimmy behaving in an inappropriate sexual manner with anyone, but they feel that these serious allegations should be properly investigated with full and complete evidence being obtained from all possible sources. I've carefully gathered the evidence against Saville, as I would have were I still a serving police officer. Of course, now that Saville's dead, he will never be able to answer the allegations against him. But when he was alive, a number of people were too afraid to speak out. Since this programme has become public knowledge, a number of other women have approached us with similar claims.
If you've been affected by any of the issues raised in this programme, you can contact the National Association for People Abused in Childhood. Their helpline number is 0800 085 3330.
And you can also contact the NSPCC helpline if you've been affected by the issues raised in this programme. They are on 0808 800 5000, or you can contact your local police force.